Good afternoon, and welcome to Worcester Public Library's monthly nutrition class. Today, we welcome back registered dietitian Judy Palken for her class, Nutrition and Beauty. Judy provides the information and guidance to help you make effective and healthful dietary changes. She is interested in healthful dietary patterns, such as the Mediterranean diet, high fiber eating, and the many health benefits of plant phytochemicals. She also greatly enjoys recipe development and writing about nutrition. So thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Jen, and hello, everyone. I am just going to share my screen. Just take a moment. I'm hoping everybody can see that. Is that visible?
Yeah, no, I see it's up in the, hold on, actually, let me exit full screen.
Okay.
No, I don't see it.
I could try stopping the share and start it again.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay.
Good old Zoom. So, hi, everyone. I am really glad you're here to join me for Nutrition and Beauty. I am very excited about this class. It's kind of different. There's something about August that made me want to offer something that seems like maybe a lighter topic, so we'll see. So in this class, yes, we are going to look at food and behavioral choices that can help us to look our healthy, glowing best. And as Jen mentioned, if you have anything you want to add or ask, please feel free to just put it right in the chat box. So this is what I want to discuss today. I want to first offer some reflections on appearance and beauty. Then I want to talk about diet and skin health, and I want to particularly focus on the problems of skin dryness, wrinkles, the issue of collagen, acne. I have a bit to say about sun damage and also the effect of sugar on the skin. Then I want to talk about eating for healthy hair, keeping our smiles beautiful, and throughout, I'm going to show you some paintings that I hope you'll agree with me are beautiful. And then at the end, there should be a chance for you to set a goal or more than one goals if you'd like to about how you might implement some of this. So first of all, I want to ask, why is this an important topic? Or I might phrase it as, why is this not superficial? Because this might seem like it's, just kind of frivolous and having to do with vanity. But I actually do really think it's important for these three reasons, and maybe you can think of some of your own. First of all, it's just healthy to feel good about ourselves. And of course, there's other aspects of ourselves that we might feel good about, like hopefully, you have a good character and you're generous and you're proud of your accomplishments and maybe you're creative. But part of who we are is also how we present and how we look. So it's really healthy to feel good about that. And then, of course, people draw inferences about us based upon initial impressions. And usually, or at least often, the first impression is what they see. And you can't take away that first impression. So it's important. And finally, some of what we perceive as beauty is health. There's kind of a murky line. So like, for example, if you have nice glowing skin, we might perceive that as beauty, but it also might be indicative of your good health. So, all important. I also want to reflect on appearance with the help of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I hope and I have a feeling that she wouldn't mind if she were here. These pictures are all readily available online, but I've got pictures of her throughout the decades. And this is just what happens to all of us. If we're lucky enough to age, this is what happens, although we certainly can have an effect with our lifestyle choices, which I'll be talking about. But in that first image from 1953, she was 20 years old, and then moving along through the decades. What I believe is that everybody has a certain beauty that comes with being young. And sometimes, often people don't realize that until we're older and we look back and we realize we had it, but that might be decades later. So it's what happens to all of us. Here's another example. So here's Renoir, 2 self-portraits, one when he was 34 and one when he was 58. And they both happen to be at the Clark Art Institute in Williamstown. Maybe some of you have seen them. And you can see, well, first painting these. And the younger one, you can really see the brush strokes better. So they're different, but you can see the aging, the color of his skin, the color of his hair, his eyes. And again, just what happens to all of us. And I also want to ask why we are drawn to beauty, in particular, other people who are beautiful. And some scientists say that we have evolved to seek out mates with traits that indicate health and fertility. And we now perceive those as beauty. So certain traits are universally considered to be attractive, and I've listed some of the important ones here. Youthfulness, symmetrical features, smooth, clear skin, shiny hair, and large, bright eyes. Across cultures, throughout time, mostly people perceive these to be beautiful. And I got this short list from a book called Beauty Sick: How the Cultural Obsession with Appearance Hurts Girls and Women. So this is by Renee Engeln. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but it's from 2017, and I thought it was a great book. I thought she made a lot of really good points about how our obsession with appearance is really harmful to people, especially girls. And that's not actually what I'm going to be talking about today, really, but she does make some good points. Although I might take issue with the symmetrical features aspect of this list. If you look at this painting by Renoir of Jean Samory, I don't think she's quite symmetrical in her eyes. I think that part of her charm is that her eyes are maybe not quite the same size as each other and maybe tilting at different angles. And I think that adds to the attractiveness of her. But in general, if you explore this topic online, you'll see that symmetry is considered to be beautiful. Jean Samory, by the way, posed for Renoir about 12 times. She was not a professional model. She was a comedic actress in Paris. And unfortunately, she died at a very young age of typhoid fever, which was not unusual. Beautiful painting anyway. Okay, so I want to talk about diet and skin health. So much of our appearance is in our skin. The skin has many important functions, and some of the really important ones are listed here. It serves an essential role as a barrier and system of protection against microbes, parasites, allergens, and environmental toxins. So all kinds of dangerous stuff our skin protects us from. It helps to regulate body temperature. Skin provides sensation, so we're aware of heat and cold and touch and pain through our skin. And it's one of the first things people see when they look at us. So from both a medical and a cosmetic perspective, having healthy skin is important. Let me talk first about the problem of dull and dry skin, which many people here in New England might experience during especially the winters. This painting by Mary Cassatt, portrait of an elderly lady, this is not meant to show dull and dry skin. I think she's got beautiful skin, and this is like what we might aspire to. Mary Cassatt very often painted mothers and children. So I think this was not typical for her, but it really is beautiful. So dull and dry skin is often related to poor hydration, causing the cells to contract, and can be caused by inadequate fluid intake, dry winter weather, some soaps. You may notice, like me, that if you travel and you go and stay, let's say, at a hotel and you're not using your usual favorite soap, then it makes your skin feel dry. I always notice that. Excess sun exposure, and eczema and other chronic dry skin conditions, which, if that is the cause, if it's something medical, it needs to be treated medically. So there is help for dull and dry skin with diet, and in particular, fats seem to be able to help. Polyunsaturated fats help skin to retain moisture, and two types in particular. There's other polyunsaturated fats, but these two types have been shown to help with the skin. So the omega-3 fatty acids, which I've talked about many times, these are found in fatty fish like salmon, in walnuts, and in seeds, in particular flax, chia, and hemp seeds. So eat a lot of those for if you have dry skin. And also less commonly known as gamma linolenic acid, or GLA for short. And this is found in some oils that we might not be as readily familiar with. Evening primrose oil, and the picture on the bottom right is the evening primrose flower. Borage seed oil and black currant seed oil. These are available online or like in natural food stores. And they all come in both topical and oral versions. So you can imbibe them or you can put them on your skin. Sometimes, I think in particular with the borage seed oil, it's recommended that you mix it with a different oil. They call that a carrier oil, like almond oil or olive oil, that you don't just put it directly on your skin. So if you have dry skin and you're planning on trying this, I would read up on it from a reputable source like WebMD or Healthline to see how you go about using them. But it's worth a try. There's, no harm and potential gain from trying these. Additionally, we must maintain our hydration to have good-looking skin. Water hydrates and plumps the skin, and that makes skin look good. If the outermost layer of the epidermis, which is the top part of our skin, if that doesn't contain enough water, the skin can lose its elasticity and feel rough. So drink plenty of water. You might want to try that common advice to drink eight fluid ounce glasses of water per day. Individual needs might vary, but that's a good place to start. We need lots of water, especially in this kind of weather. And then there's the issue of skin that looks aged. And that often happens with wrinkles and loss of skin elasticity. Elasticity just means like the ability of the skin to bounce back if you press it or pull it. So some of the things that cause the appearance of aging, the wrinkles and the loss of elasticity, are smoking, a poor diet, stress, excess sun exposure, and environmental pollutants. So we're exposed to these factors to varying degrees. And I want to tell you about two studies that looked at the connection between diet and skin aging. One was from 2001, and they looked at a lot of participants, 450. They were from all over. They were from Sweden and Greece and Australia, and they were looking to determine the connection between diet and wrinkling. And they found a lower risk of sun damage with a diet high in vegetables, legumes, fish, and olive oil, which sounds a lot like our Mediterranean diet that we know is so good. So med diet for good, smooth skin. And then in 2007, some researchers did analysis of NHANES data. NHANES is the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey that our government does. And they collect a lot of data, but these researchers were looking at the data to seek a connection between skin appearance and diet. And the strongest correlation, and I just think this is so exciting, was between higher vitamin C intake and less wrinkled skin. And there's several reasons why vitamin C might do this for us. It's a nice antioxidant. It's photoprotective, so it protects against the UV rays from the sun. It's involved in collagen formation, and it's involved in skin regeneration. So a lot of reasons that vitamin C might help our skin. And then finally, several studies have shown that berries of all sorts, berries contain lots of good compounds, but one of them is ellagic acid, an antioxidant that may decrease wrinkling and other signs of skin aging by blocking enzymes that break down collagen in sun-damaged skin. So in other words, berries may help us to keep our collagen despite sun damage. So here's a pretty Renoir of strawberries. So these strawberries would pack a double punch for our skin. Strawberries are high in vitamin C, and they would also have this ellagic acid that's a really good antioxidant.
So Judy, we do have a question from Emma. How much vitamin C is good?
Well, I believe, I don't know the exact amount of the RDA, like for typical adults, it's either 60 or 80 milligrams a day, but you can certainly get more than that from food and you'll be fine. I don't recommend taking it as a supplement. I'm recommending getting it from food. So you don't need to know the exact numbers in the foods. Just eat lots of vitamin C rich foods, which I'm going to show you on the next slide, and you'll get plenty of vitamin C. If you do opt to take it as a supplement, I wouldn't go much above the RDA, where it says on the back percentage of RDA. It's not good to megadose. So I hope that helps. Let me show you some of the produce that's high in vitamin C. It's, you get it from fruits and vegetables. And here's several of them that are nice and high in vitamin C. And I know I've shown this in recent classes because vitamin C has other health benefits. It's just so good for us. But here, talking about skin health for your skin, choose several of these that you might like. We probably all know that oranges are high in vitamin C, but take a look at some of the others and see what you might like. And I did want to mention that vitamin C can be destroyed by high temperatures. So not to say you should never cook your vegetables, but be sure to get plenty of raw produce so you get good vitamin C that hasn't been destroyed. And I should back up and say that when we cook it, like if you steam broccoli, you don't destroy all of it, but a certain amount of it does get destroyed. So you might want to, for example, have raw broccoli pieces with guacamole or hummus. I have a little recipe here for a tropical salsa made with kiwi that I just found, so I haven't tried it yet, but I think it looks so yummy with the mango and peppers and honey and lime juice and cilantro. It doesn't even give amounts, even on the site, but I think we could all play around with these ingredients and come up with a nice combination. And tomato. I find that if I add tomato, like cherry tomatoes or, chunks of a whole tomato to a finished stir fry, so it's not getting cooked, but it really enhances the stir fry, whether it's chicken and broccoli or tofu or no matter what it is, really good. Now on to collagen. There are a lot of ads for collagen. If you look in magazines and especially online, and you'll see collagen sold in natural food stores and even in supermarkets and drugstores. And you might have wondered, like I have wondered, should I take collagen for my skin? So the answer is going to be a big, I'm not sure, but let me tell you what I do know. Collagen is not just one protein, it's a whole family of proteins, and it really is important for our skin, for the appearance of and functioning of our skin. And as we age, we have less collagen in our skin. And that leads to a loss of skin elasticity and firmness. And who wants that, right? And it leads to wrinkles and an aged appearance. So part of what we're seeing when we're seeing an aged face is the loss of collagen. So some advice, some things you'll read say, well, just eat lots of foods rich in collagen. So those would include bone broth, meat, muscle meat, like a steak, for example, chicken, fish, egg whites, and spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, and that's fine. Some studies suggest, and some people say, that's not enough, we should take collagen supplements. And some studies have shown that collagen supplements can reduce visible signs of aging, including wrinkles, skin dryness, and elasticity. However, and I wonder, and I'm not alone, I've done a lot of reading on this online and I've seen people pose the question, these are proteins. When we eat proteins, we digest them in our small intestine and break them down into amino acids. And then in our cells, proteins get built up. So I kind of think if we eat enough of good proteins, for example, yogurt, eggs, chicken, legumes, wherever you get your protein, if you eat enough, you can build your own collagen. However, I have to go back to the fact that some studies do seem to suggest that collagen supplements do seem to help. So I'm not sure. I do know that taking collagen supplements is not harmful if you take them as instructed, except that they're really expensive. So if you do feel inclined to give it a try, you might want to put a time limit on it and say, okay, if I don't see results in like 2 or 3 months, this was a wash and I'm not going to keep doing it. Because, you know, people sometimes get in the habit of spending lots and lots of money on supplements that they just don't need and aren't doing anything good. So, you know, maybe that sounded like a lot, but my bottom line here is eat enough protein and you can make your own collagen. Also, turmeric, the spice, has been shown in some research to likely improve collagen deposition. So by all means, use turmeric. It's a good anti-inflammatory spice anyway, so add it to your food generously if you like it. There's no downside, really good for you. Here's another beautiful painting by Jericho. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. So the painting itself is kind of crazed, damaged, but the woman herself has beautiful skin, looks like really good collagen. So probably getting her protein and her vitamin C.
Judy,
Okay.
there is a question from Emma. Is it possible to have too much turmeric if you put it in a smoothie, say?
I think it would be limiting. It's got a strong flavor, in my opinion, and I think you would reach a point where you wouldn't like it and you wouldn't add more than a couple spoonfuls. I think where people might be more likely to get too much is if they're buying the supplements. So put what you like in your smoothie, unless you're adding like, you know, I wouldn't add 1/4 of a cup. I think that would be excessive. But if you want to put a heaping big spoonful in there, go for it. It's good for you. And I will also add, and you might have heard this, that black pepper has a substance in it, piperine or pepperine, I don't know how to pronounce it, that enhances curcumin absorption, the substance in turmeric. So if you're cooking something like a curry and you add turmeric and black pepper, you'll enhance the absorption and bioavailability of the turmeric. Hope that made sense. Okay, on to the problem of diet and acne, which nobody enjoys. First of all, if anybody suffers from acne, or if you've got a family member who does and you're advising, if anybody notices any foods that bother it, that is very possible. Everyone's different, and if somebody says, well, this seems to bother it, then by all means try excluding it and see if that helps you. But there are some foods that seem to have been shown to really aggravate acne in many people, and I want to go over those. So first of all, chocolate. That's been around forever. Since I was young, people would say chocolate aggravates acne. So in reality, it's kind of unknown. Studies are inconsistent with this. although there are certainly some people who seem to have their acne aggravated by chocolate. It may be a contributing factor. However, it could be the sugar, because as I'm going to get to in a second, sugar can aggravate acne, and chocolate has sugar in it, unless you're just using plain cocoa powder, then there's no sugar. But if it's chocolate, as in a candy bar or something, it could be the sugar. So what you might want to do if you think that's you is choose dark chocolate, which has less sugar than milk chocolate and is better for us anyway. Some people find that their acne is aggravated by dairy, and this has been backed up by studies. And skim and low fat seem to be worse offenders, somewhat surprisingly. So if somebody thinks that dairy is aggravating their acne, they could try eliminating dairy, or possibly better, try changing to whole milk and also organic, because conventional milk that's not organic can have hormones added to it, like growth hormone and reproductive hormone. Generally not a good thing, and the hormones might aggravate the acne. So it's worth a try changing to organic and or whole milk. And finally, and I think the most compelling in terms of the data, is that high glycemic foods and beverages aggravate acne. And these are foods that have a lot of sugar and a lot of white flour, and they cause our blood sugar and our insulin levels to spike, leading to inflammation, and this can aggravate acne. So foods like white bread, white rice, potato chips and fries, pastries and sugary drinks like a soda, all these can aggravate acne. Whereas low glycemic foods seem to help reduce acne because they eliminate the spikes in blood sugar. So for example, having lots of fresh vegetables, beans, steel cut oats, and other whole grains. So again, back to the kind of Mediterranean way of eating. So we want to choose lots of whole grains. Just move this. You want to focus on low glycemic foods. This is just the Bob's Red Mill product aisle at Ocean State Job Lot in Westboro. You don't have to go to Ocean State Job Lot. You can get Bob's Red Mill at many supermarkets, but they have a great line of really good whole grains. Some of the common ones and some of the less common ones, like amaranth, for example. So really good, healthy choices and good for the skin. And we want to go easy on the high glycemic foods. This is one of the many ads that I get all the time from Bertucci's. I love Bertucci's, but nobody needs this giant piece of chocolate cake, especially if you're concerned about your skin health. The thing to do about this is enjoy the dinner and forgo the cake, or if you did want to have it, to maybe share it with your friends. So everybody gets a little bit, but that's a lot of sugar and a lot of white flour. Okay, now I want to talk about the very important issue of excess sun exposure. A lot of our skin problems are due to sun exposure. And some of us are saying, oh, if only I had known earlier when I was younger. So when skin is damaged by the sun, this is a diagram of the skin that shows the outer layer, the epidermis, the inner thicker layer called the dermis, and then underneath that fatty tissue, and that's normal, that's supposed to be there. So when we get sun damage, the damage can go deep, deep into the dermis. And we might not know the damage is there till years later when it surfaces. So if you have any very young people in their life and they say, look, I'm laying out getting a tan or burning or whatever, and it's not damaging my skin, you can tell them. What they might not realize is the damage sometimes doesn't surface until way later. So if we get too much sun, we have problems. In the short term, the problem would be a sunburn, which we've probably all had, which is a real burn. And it can involve reddening, inflammation, and severe cases, blistering and peeling of the skin caused by overexposure to the ultraviolet rays of the sun. In the long term, a sunburn or excess sun exposure, prematurely ages the skin. The UV light actually causes DNA changes. And again, the damage can go deep into the dermis, so it can take years before it surfaces and becomes visible. And this is a list of the problems that I'm aware of from too much sun, the problems in the skin. It wrinkles the skin. It can lead to thick and leathery skin or thin skin like tissue paper. We've probably all seen people that have scenario. Hyperpigmentation, so dark spots, large freckles, and uneven pigmentation, a loss of skin tone or decreased elasticity, even leading to sagging skin, broken capillaries or spider veins, redness and blotchiness, and a rough, dry texture. And of course, there's the very real risk of skin cancer, which can be deadly. The more sun exposure, the worse the damage, and the earlier the skin ages. So here's a painting that has a real backstory that I'll tell you. But her name, just move this. Her name was Virginie Gautreau, and this is by John Singer Sargent. This might be his most famous painting. I imagine several of you might have seen this, but first I want to tell you what her message is for you. And I'm giving her this message to tell you. To see the difference between your chronological aging and photo aging, which is sun damage, compare skin that is normally covered with the skin on your face. And you've probably all done this. Look at the skin on your chest or your thighs or your belly and compare that with your face or your arms or your hands, and you'll likely see a big difference. So she looks, even though she's wearing a revealing dress, she looks like someone who probably mostly kept her skin covered. She was known to wear a lavender tinged powder. And I do kind of see a bluish tinge on her, below her neck. Maybe that's her powder. But anyway, let me tell you the story of her. I think it's really interesting and fun to know. So she was an American expat who lived in Paris and married a French banker, Gautreau. And Sargent, who was living in Paris, saw her and wanted to paint her. And he wrote to a friend of his that apparently knew her. And this is what he said: "I have a great desire to paint her portrait and have reason to think she would allow it, and is waiting for someone to propose this homage to her beauty. If you are bien avec elle, or like in good with her, and will see her in Paris, you might tell her I am a man of prodigious talent." I love that. It would sound like bragging, except he was a man of prodigious talent. So anyway, she agreed to be painted by him. And the first painting he did, the painting at first looked like the little image on the left in the corner. He had the right-hand strap of her dress actually hanging off her shoulder. But I guess that was too risque for everybody. And he painted over it and redid it with the strap going up on her shoulder, as you can see there. However, it didn't have a happy outcome, even though people love the painting today, and it's at the Met in New York. So, it's a well-appreciated painting. At the time, it was shown in the Salon in Paris, and it scandalized and shocked people. I'm not sure exactly why, because there's plenty of paintings of women in low-cut dresses and even nude. But I think it's in part because the dress is so figure-hugging. And I also read that it's something about the way her right arm is going back behind her that's showing off her figure more. I don't know, but people were shocked and scandalized, and they didn't get over it. It had a poor reception, even among the critics as well as the public. Her mother asked Sargent to remove the painting from the Salon. He wouldn't. Eventually, she was humiliated, apparently, and Sargent moved on to London. So that's the story. But anyway, back to skin health, which is really what we're talking about. Here's another painting by Sargent. Contrast this. You can imagine that this lady would not have had much skin damage either. Maybe her face, maybe her hands, but everything else is covered. And, you know, I've kind of wondered about parasols. So here's a Matisse from 1919. Back in the day, people did carry parasols. They covered up better. There seemed to be more of an appreciation from the sun. And I just think this is really charming, this lady with her green parasol. And parasols are available today. I just don't see anyone using them. So here's what we can do to avoid the harmful effects of the sun. This is probably not going to be anything new to you, but it bears mentioning because it's so important. We should limit our sun exposure, especially midday. Approximately 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. is when the UV rays are the strongest. We should cover up with clothing. I think this is a really good tactic, covering up with clothing. Wear long sleeves, long pants, and a wide brimmed hat. There's even sun gloves now. I think it's actually a really good idea, like if we're driving, especially if it's a long drive. Wear sunglasses that filter UV rays. Use sunscreen every day, and realize that there's no such thing as a healthy tan. That's what the dermatologists say, and it really is true. Healthy tan is an oxymoron. So on the topic of sunscreen, so they will have an SPF, as you know, and this tells how well the sunscreen blocks the UV rays. The experts recommend that we seek an SPF of at least 30 and we reapply it often, which I think is where many of us fall down, especially if we're sweating a lot or swimming. We need to reapply it. In the world of sunscreens, there's the chemical sunscreens and there's the physical or inorganic sunscreens. So the chemical sunscreens, we now know as of late that some of the active ingredients are absorbed through the skin, like the oxybenzones, and these are not thought to be healthful. Whereas the physical sunscreens are not absorbed, like this Aveeno Positively Mineral shown here. They physically block the UV rays. They create a barrier, they reflect them away from the body. And they tend to be made of zinc oxide or titanium oxide. So this is what I would recommend based on what I know. It doesn't have to be this brand. There's several brands out there and they're available in CVS. You can buy them anywhere. And in terms of our diet, there's foods we can eat that can help to protect the skin from the UV rays. So beta carotene, which is one of the many hundreds of carotenoids in orange and red and yellow fruits and vegetables, has actually been shown to help protect the skin from UV rays. So you want to eat foods like this cantaloupe, for example. It's not enough on its own. We still need to cover up and use sunscreen, but it can help. So choose plenty of red and yellow and orange fruits. Got some listed here. See what you might like. This time of year, the peaches and nectarines and cherries are so good. And also the vegetables, carrots, pumpkins, and other winter squash, red, yellow, and orange peppers, sweet potatoes, beets, and dark leafy greens. And you don't see the red, yellow, or orange in the leafy greens, but they're there. They're just masked by the chlorophyll, but they will have plenty of carotenoids. These are also good for our health, including our skin health. Here's another Renoir. That pumpkin is just a great example of a nice winter squash with lots of beta carotene. And gazpacho. You might have your own recipe for gazpacho that you love, but in general, you're going to get great tomatoes and peppers and olive oil, all really good for the skin. This recipe is from the Moosewood cookbook, which I know I talked about in the last class. Lots of nice recipes in there. This is a really easy one and tastes really good. Okay, and finally, wrapping up this little section on skin health, skin and appearance rather, I want to mention the effect of sugar, because sugar does seem to have an effect not only on our health, excuse me, but on appearance. So when sugar reacts either in food or in the body with proteins and fats, it can produce and does produce these substances called advanced glycation end products, which are abbreviated to AGEs, which is kind of appropriate. They promote oxidative stress and inflammation, and these are implicated in diabetes, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease, and damage throughout the cells of the body. Excuse me. So where this affects our appearance, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
Not a problem, Judy. Take your time.
Sorry.
Do you want to pause it for a second? Here, hold on.
Yeah, sure. Oh, sorry. Sorry. The
Go ahead.
AGEs damage collagen and elastin, and these are protein fibers that keep skin looking firm, keep skin firm. So the collagen becomes brittle and less elastic, and the results are visible signs of aging, like wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, and hardening of cell structure. So sugar, excess sugar, can actually affect the appearance of our skin. It's kind of amazing to think about. Okay, I'm going to move on to eating for healthy hair, which really also includes eating for healthy nails, because hair and nails both have keratin, a protein. So what's good for the hair is also good for the nails. So let me start with this beautiful painting by Leon Kroll. This is his wife, Mrs. Kroll, in yellow. And I saw this at the Peabody Essex Museum last year in Salem. Beautiful painting. I love her dress. And also she's got beautiful shiny hair, as you can see. And there are certainly foods we can eat and nutrients we can focus on for healthy hair. I'm not going to read all the foods. I don't think time allows it, but these are nutrients you can focus on for healthy hair. Biotin, which actually stimulates keratin production and is found in a lot of different foods. B vitamins in general, also found in a lot of foods. Vitamin D, which isn't found in that great a variety of foods. However, excuse me, many of us take a vitamin D supplement because we're trying to limit our sun exposure. So you might be doing that and getting vitamin D that way. Vitamin E, omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids. Protein, so important, like for example, from Greek yogurt or eggs or legumes. Zinc, from a variety of foods. Oysters are the highest in zinc. If you like oysters, you can get really good zinc that way. Calcium and selenium. And I want to mention that Brazil nuts are really high in selenium, an important antioxidant mineral. I'm not suggesting that you need to buy supplements with these nutrients. Just to eat the foods that are rich in these nutrients should be good enough. And then I do want to mention something interesting I've been seeing and reading about online, molasses for healthy hair. And I really do want to emphasize that there's no scientific evidence regarding this, but I'm mentioning it anyway, just because I think it's really interesting and maybe nobody has studied it scientifically. There's lots of claims from individuals online, which doesn't make it true, but I think it's intriguing because molasses does have a lot of minerals. So there's all kinds of claims online for people using molasses on their hair and also eating molasses and saying that it benefits their hair. So molasses, you probably know, is the thick syrup that results from the process of refining sugarcane or sugar beets into sugar. Black strap molasses, like the bottle shown here, is produced after the third boiling, and it's what remains after the maximum extraction of sugar from raw sugarcane or sugar beets. So it's thick, it's dark, it's somewhat bitter, and it's also the most nutritionally dense molasses. It's got a lot of iron, copper, potassium, calcium, magnesium, manganese, and selenium. These are all minerals, and that's why I'm intrigued about this. I'm wondering if there really is something to molasses being good for hair. If you decide to play around with it, from what I've read, a couple things. People who actually put it on their hair say don't put it on straight, mix it with something else like water or olive oil, and that it's a mess to get off. So I think I'm going to pass on that one. And if you decide to include molasses in your diet to see if it helps the health of your hair, just realize that every tablespoon of blackstrap molasses has 11 grams of sugar. So that's almost 3 teaspoons. So if you decide to give this a try, you might want to cut sugar somewhere else. But it is interesting. And then finally, on the topic of hair, a recent study just published in this past June says that stress does turn hair gray. Also very interesting. And this was out of Columbia University, College of Physicians and Surgeons. What they did is analyzed individual hairs from 14 volunteers, and they had them keep stress diaries. And then they compared the hair and the stress levels. And the results showed striking associations between stress and hair graying. So maybe it isn't just an old wives' tale that we've kind of been told that it is. In some cases, they saw a reversal of graying with the lifting of stress. So a very good reason, aside from all the health benefits, for us to try to control the stress in our lives. They did say that they didn't think like someone who's in their 70s, who's had gray hair for decades, they didn't think that they could reverse the gray in a person like that, nor did they think that a stressed out 10-year-old would turn their hair gray, which is good. But they seemed to imply that someone in the middle of the age range might be able to reverse some of the graying with a lifting of the stress. And they said that this is the first study to offer quantitative evidence linking psychological stress to graying hair in people. And if you want to read more about that, I've included the link. And by the way, if you haven't been at my classes before, just so you know, you will get an email at some point with an image of the slides. I did want to point out, however, that gray hair can be gorgeous, and not everybody wants to, have their gray hair turn back the clock. And I realize that. Back in the 17 and 1800s, people, men and women, routinely powdered their hair to make it look gray, like this woman. She's clearly a very young woman. This is by Ginsburg. And, she looks gorgeous with her gray hair. So, and here's another one, a lot more of a romantic image from an artist named Boucher. This is at the MFA in Boston. So again, beautiful gray hair. Okay, so now I'm just going to say a few words about foods that stain teeth, because we all want to have nice looking teeth and a nice smile. So these are foods and beverages that have been shown to stain teeth. Some people do seem to be more susceptible than others, but coffee and tea, cola, in a cola, it would be the dark coloring and the acids like the carbonic acid. Sports and energy drinks, deeply colored sauces like soy sauce and tomato sauce, curries, red wine, blueberries, blackberries, cherries, and beetroot, and candies with coloring. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, some of these foods are really healthful, and we don't want to give them up for the sake of our teeth. Like, for example, berries, cherries, beets, coffee, and tea have amazing health benefits, and so does tomato sauce and, a curry, depending on what's in it. But there are things we can do to minimize the staining. So to keep our smiles beautiful, don't swish beverages around in your mouth, or dark colored beverages. Maybe you don't, but I think sometimes people do without realizing it. The second one did not make me happy at all, but don't graze on coffee or tea. It's better for our teeth just to drink it and get it done with, as opposed to sitting and drinking it for 3 hours over the course of the morning. Or you can lighten your coffee or tea with milk, and that will help to keep it from staining your teeth. Rinse your mouth with water after eating. I really like that one. That seems really doable and really achievable, and can probably also help to prevent tooth decay. Crunchy fruits and vegetables, which are so good for us anyway, those like apples and celery and carrots, are natural stain removers. They scrub the teeth. And chewing gum with xylitol can stimulate the saliva, which cleans the mouth. And of course, we should all brush our teeth diligently, at least twice daily. Okay, so we need to remember that, sorry, let me just move this. Beauty is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And people spend a lot of money on makeups and lotions and creams, but they can only do so much. They're a lot of fun and they're really nice, but they can only do so much. No products can undo the consequences of poor lifestyle choices. So diet, physical activity, sleep, reducing stress, avoiding excess sun exposure, all these can have a real effect on our appearance. I want to recommend a short story. It doesn't have anything to do with nutrition and beauty, but it does have to do with beauty. And it's one of my favorite short stories. I've loved it since I was in high school, and I was in English class, and I was bored with what the teacher was talking about, and I was flipping through the English book, and I came across this and read it during class and loved it, and have read it many times since. So it's Bernice Bobs Her Hair by F. Scott Fitzgerald. You'll find it in many of his books of short stories, and I bet the Worcester Public Library would have it. So in this short story, Fitzgerald deals with the topics of femininity, appearance, charm, personality, daring, virtue, and societal expectations. It's an adorable story. I hope you enjoy it if you read it. And now I would like to ask, what, if anything, will you change either in your diet or just in your lifestyle to enhance your appearance and health, if you can think of anything? And if you'd like to share that with us, please go ahead and put it in the chat box and we'll read those. And with that, I want to thank you so much. I'll stop sharing my screen, so maybe if anyone does want to show their video, they can. You certainly don't have to.
Does anybody have anything they want to share? Oh, Jody says more water.
Great. Yeah, I agree with that one.
And we got a thank you from Emma.
Thank you, Emma.
We do have that book here. It's part of a short story collection. So it's called The Short Stories of F. Scott Fitzgerald. And we have one copy here. So, if you were interested in it, you can definitely check it out. Somebody says reduce but not eliminate chocolate consumption.
Sounds good. Yeah. No need to eliminate. I hear you on that one. Well, you know, in case anybody else is typing and you need a minute, I just want to tell you for my own part, I am focusing a lot on trying to reduce sun exposure. Like when I'm driving, I've ordered a pair of those sun gloves. Yeah, because, you know, I have heard that people get more skin cancers and more sun damage on their left hand and left arm, and that's because of sun exposure. Yep.
That makes sense.
And definitely focusing on lots of citrus and lots of berries as well, eating them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jody says, excellent talk. Are your other talks available at the Worcester Public Library? So Jody, they're listed on our YouTube page, all of the pandemic programs that we've recorded. So let me share some links here. So it's the last link, the YouTube link. So you can watch the old ones. And I will send these links along with Judy's slides either later today or next week, most likely later today. But moving forward, this is the last month in our quarter. So our new fall quarter will start in September, and those classes are going to be in person in the new computer lab at the main library on the first floor. So we hope you all can make it. Judy's going to do something on September 11th. She's going to do Diabetes, Prevent, Treat, and Eat. On October 9th, Food and Mood. And on November 13th, Thanksgiving, was it resolutions? I kind of scribbled here. Resolutions.
Yeah, it is.
So they're not on our adult classes and programs page yet, but they will be most likely next week. And we will want you to register for that because there's only about 12 seats in there. And we don't want it to be too overcrowded, considering, you know, the circumstances we're in right now.
So Emma, I'm sorry to see you can only do virtual. Sorry about that, and sorry to interrupt, Jen.
Oh, no, that's okay. You know, and that's something we can think about too, is, you know, thinking about a way to do them hybrid, but we haven't gotten there yet. So keep your eye out, keep checking our page. We will still have some virtual classes because some of our presenters do not live in Massachusetts and cannot make it here. So some of our like author events and poetry workshops will still be virtual. So there'll still be options for virtual. And what else did I need to tell you folks? I think that's it for my notes. And then of course the links here. We have another thank you, Judy, for this informative presentation. And it was a great presentation. I learned a lot. Thank you, everybody. Anything else you folks want to share? We have a minute more.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Could you talk about the relationship between nutrition and hair loss? Is there anything you can take nutritionally to slow the hair loss down?
You know, bear with me a moment. I do have some information about that. I apologize, it's just going to take me a second. Can I share my screen again for a second?
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look a little different because I'm not in full screen, but I knew I couldn't cover everything. I have a lot more that I would have liked to have covered. That's always the case. But these are nutrients in which deficiencies can affect hair growth. So vitamin A, which you get beta carotenoids, which get turned to vitamin A in the body from like dark green and orange and yellow and red fruits and vegetables, and also from milk and eggs, vitamin D, B vitamins, iron, zinc, selenium, and biotin. So some of those same nutrients that I showed you on the other hair slide, just for general healthy hair. So I would focus first on making sure your diet's really rich in these nutrient-dense, really helpful foods. And if that doesn't help your hair, and you haven't talked to your healthcare provider about it, then you might need to. But these are the types of nutrients in foods that can be very, very good for for improving hair loss or preventing hair loss if a person isn't getting enough of them to begin with. And what I will do is when I send the slides, I'll include this slide so you have that information if that's helpful.
Okay, thank you. It's not related to calcium, is it?
Well, calcium is one of the ones that's overall important for healthy hair, but I haven't seen that it's related in particular to hair loss and thinning.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Are there any other questions or thoughts?
Yes, we did have another request to send all the slides. Specifically also the one on sleep.
Oh,
the items you carry with you, and then the slide on sleep.
Oh, okay. Sure. Okay. I mean, I'm going to use that sleep one when I do a sleep class, but there's no harm in sending it. I will absolutely send the sleep slide and the items you carry with you. I apologize. I just can't. I always end up making more slides than I can use. And I hope to do a class on sleep. Maybe that'll be in the new year.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, please come to that if you can. You know what? Let me get to those now, if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because this is fun. I love talking about this. So in terms of sleep, it's too long. It's too long to go into. Basically, it was a study. I mean, I know I'm out of time here, but basically people who were sleep deprived had they were perceived as having a much worse appearance than people who got their sleep. And this should come as a surprise to no one, to everyone who's had someone say to you, what's the matter with you? You look tired. Well, you know, this is what they're seeing when you're sleep deprived. And in terms of carrying with you, the types of foods that I was talking about, as well as your good reusable water bottle, are all things that we should carry with us when we're out and about and traveling or running errands, you know, so that we can be prepared and eat for our health and beauty while we're, you know, we're not at the mercy of like fast food.
Absolutely. Those are good suggestions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Judy. If anybody has anything else, say it now. Otherwise, please enjoy your day. And I hear it's going to cool down a little bit tomorrow, so that is wonderful. We have another comment and an amazing talk. Well, thank you, everybody. We hope to see you next month. And if not, email me. And, you know, the more people I hear from who want it virtual, the more possible it is to maybe do a hybrid. So just, you know, you'll get an email from me today and you can just respond right back to that. Okay. All right. Thank you, folks. You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. It was great to hear and see you all. Bye.
Thank you.